Good morning, everyone. This is Jamie Hong speaking from Knh Taiwan. It is my greatest pleasure to take this opportunity to discuss about today's subject, take on the challenge to foster sustainable quality technology education during the pandemic. As we know, now we are still, some other countries still suffer from the pandemic after the 2 years ago. And the reason why education has been keep on improving, and it is also because of a shortage of the classroom activities. So in order to solve these issues, actually a lot of research and also a lot of scholarship are being provided to support how can we sustain the technology still available in the pandemic. So here we are taking some of the examples, and we like to talk about and discuss how we can cope with these pandemic issues. So, as we know, education is a key to sustainable development, economy, and also society. It is also very important to help the country to develop. But how can we sustain? So we have to think about, in education, what kind of topic, what kind of subject we are able to provide the subject to help the teacher to prevent the problems from the pandemic issues. So new technologies in education are changing our ideas, concepts, and the aims of education, not only for methodologies. So nowadays in education, we people in engineering subjects, especially in the automotive control, also in the engineering of technologies, people are more on the sensors and also more on the IoTs and more on the big data. So this kind of subjects will be today's subjects. How can we use these new technologies, and how can we use these technologies to link with the existing engineering subjects? So let's take a look in this slide. The important issues for AIoT, actually, we understand that most education domain expert knowledge is a huge domain expert knowledge in every country, in every school, in every professor's database. However, we need to make a conversation in between academic and industry, because we understand in the near future, these students will be graduate and immediately they will meet the industrial challenges. This industry is keep on improving even during the pandemic. So how can we make a good dialogue, good conversation, good bridge in between academic and industry? So we are quite sufficient, and we are quite competent to provide some of these simple, useful, and also we can say these are state-of-the-art device to help education to link with this education and industrial demand. So let's take a look. Nowadays in the communications, we understand there's a 5G networking, and in between all the subjects and then institute, 5G are being layered to transfer the data, including the sensors, applications, and also networkings. So we have to prepare all the knowledges in advance of technologies. Of course, there are lots of devices are being innovative, but we have to prepare properly. And then we are talking about the IoT and IoT, Internet of Big Data, Internet of Things. These are being a hard subject to help problem solving. So let's take a look. Before we launch AI, let's make a little bit word game. We know we have to prepare some bets before you want to fish. You want to get a big fish or small fish. It depends on how much bait, what is the quality of bait. So we have played this word game that say bait is equal to big data plus AI plus IoT technologies. So we have to use this information together. So you have to choose the right bait to catch big fish. That is what I'm saying. Hope this would be a very good image before we talk about a little bit deeper in education and technologies. So let's take a look in the big data analysis. Nowadays, usually people in engineering, there's lots of different type of subjects, including the chemical, physics, and also engineering subjects. But take a look into the fundamental academic principles. Data is there, it's everywhere. actually. So we have to make a very good image what has happened in the past, and then why did it happen, then what will happen in the future. So we have to find out the solutions to be able to do the problem solving and what should be done. So these actions must be very critical before we make the decision to education. So it is very important, it's a target based. You need to think about what is a target that you want to achieve. So you find a solution in coherence to this target. So let's take a look this is a real case in Zambia. Actually, say there are some Italian engineer went to Zambia to solve the problem for the farmers. This farmer, they want to grow the tomatoes, but they need some more technology to increase the numbers, the amount of the tomato growth. So the Italian, they use some technology, we call smart agriculture, to create the technologies, and then they successfully help the farmer to increase the productivity of tomatoes. However, they did not expect in the other days a large number of hippos came to eat all the tomatoes. So this is something happened before we think about the technologies, because this engineer, they forgot to consult, to communicate with the local condition issues. So meaning in AIoT, in technologies, we are able to teach. We need to teach the students or the teachers communication, understanding, and decision are very important before you want to decide the technology in education. So make a good communication, make a good understanding in between industry and academy, and then we shape the solutions for the students. So let's take another page to find a subject matter, and it depends on the contents of the research really, because keep pace with the times. We have to adjust this opportunity properly, very important, because time change with technical, time change with the human beings. So in the industry development, we have to see what people adjust their work and the rest due to the environmental and due to the environment change from the time to time. This is very important. So this is a real case that we take a look in the AI modeling. Before we do the AI modeling, we have to see some real cases. So let's take a look. This is Taiwan's barbet. This is a 5-color bird. In our language, we call it 5-color birds. And this bird is a very professional in the tree cavities. They dig the holes on the trees. However, you can see the left side and the right side. These two pictures are quite similar. But did you know the right side, this is not the hole, this is not a tree cavities, these are ditch holes. So before you teach the computer for the modeling, there are some environmental conditions that you have to aware. There are so much similarities in the real environment. So we have to give this education and knowledge before you decide your technical. So now let's keep a discussion about today's subject. We talk about the data source. So when it comes to the data source, we know there's a lot of data in the engineering field, in the environment of natures. So think about the technical, think about how can we get this data in a technical way. So today I would like to highlight Internet of Things. Internet of Things is the most fundamental and also most practical device that a student can easily choose and they can implement into engineering concept. In this situation, we are able to launch more projects along with in between teachers and the students. So after you get the data from the Internet of Things, when it comes to a certain volume of data, then we have to choose the right skill and method. Then we talk about big data. So this actually in the middle of the process of this data, this is already in the AI range. So the modeling of AI, or we call AI modeling, it is very important to be a critical challenge in today's education. So later on, I will also bring up some of the cases and also the algorithm subjects. and also what to choose and what is the best way, what is a suitable device for you to consider. Okay, so this is a Iot Training System from Knh Taiwan. Very honored to introduce these solutions because this solution is combined several important technologies, including sensor, including different type of network, such as Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, in ocean, and Zigbee. So in this case, we are able to construct a very simple laboratories for teachers and students. So they can bring up the industrial solutions together. For example, in these communication panels, we provide different type of communication, and the important thing is each communication node is linked with a sensor. So for example, this is a sensor for gas. So physically, student is able to identify what is the structure of the circuit and how these gas sensors are being constructed. And then we have to teach students how to do the programming. This programming including the fundamental I2C, timer, and then we use ARM. We use a very important software for IoT. So it means when you provide this education, actually what you have to do now is parallel with the industrial technologies. So you can even imagine not only this sensor, we have provided different type of sensors. So this sensor will become a very good knowledge base and to help the teachers and to bring the suitable technical education in the modern technologies. And then you can imagine this is also internet, because internet is internet of things. So when we bring the things together, we also need to talk about the internet, including the security. So this internet is also including the protocol type, including IPv4 and IPv6. So in the combination, we bring all together to construct the fundamental technical in IoT education. So you can even put this back to the communication node. Okay, so we are able to complete the connections in between sensor and the communication node. So in these IoT technologies, we also introduce the technical, such as in ocean. This one does not require any power source. We just simply use mechanical. Then the data will be sent immediately to the server. Then they can collect the data. This is mostly used for the remote smart house control. So later on, we will show you several videos to let you know what is internal training, how to do the IoT, then use the video to give you the idea. So now let's take a look in the COVID-19 face detection. We understand in every country there's a physical cases happening in the health sectors. Usually people would like to learn how can we detect the people who wear mask or without mask, or what is the motion, what is the control device, and this is very important. That later on I will also guide you what equipment and what solutions we are able to cover. And then in the series of this kind of process, actually we also already talk about a deep architecture, which means AI modeling. We have to teach the computer how to identify. So this including the different technology, including the camera source, including the edge computing. So in this system, these are all in one, in package. So in nowadays, actually IoT also for infrared thermometers in different type of layers, and sensor layers, and the network layer, and also application layers. So different technical are being involved, such as the Raspberry Pi. So you know that most people are using Raspberry Pi for the fundamental education also. And network layer including the servers. So what type of server and what is the place you want to put your data into the cloud, for example. And then also for the application layers, it's mostly for the IoT platform. So you have to study the MQTT protocols, and from this protocol we are understanding how to link your data with the server. Okay, so this system, instead of talk more on the theory base, this system is more on the AI modeling, and also talk about a new technology to construct. How can we use the edge computing. So in this edge computing, usually you need to deal with a different type of source. So in this case, we talk about a source like using the data. So this data actually, you can see nowadays, all the case here are all sensors. So for example, so let's take a look in the ultrasonic distance sensor. In this distance sensor, you can physically observe this is a sensor here, and in the middle, we provide a small screen. So it means student is able to understanding what is the data happening in the real time. When you approach this sensor, you can see the distance is also changing from the data. So this means this case is online. So it means the green light is online. So some of this, you can put this back to the panel. Okay, so this is the reason why we design this object is because usually students can install this device in any place in your environment. So even in a smart house, smart laboratory, smart buildings, for example. So another case I like to raise is even nowadays you can see here is computer-based. So this data are collecting real time. So even now we are demonstrating the CO2 sensor. So you can see the current situation in your CO2 in the environment. And also the most important thing here, we provide also the touch screen base. So here is very easy to demonstrate the programming. So when teacher they are talk about the AI modeling. So here we run the AI modeling in this program. So including the edge computing, including the MQTT broker with Wi-Fi gateway. So all the system student can enjoy. They can do the project together with different subjects. Student from engineering group, they can categorize in different subjects, automation, even the web page engineer or the AI engineer. So they can work together and provide a harmonic. And this is the reason why we encourage to be more modern, to be modernized, and how can we shape the new innovation in education. So in the real industry, actually people who study AI or they study the edge computing, usually we can raise a very physical case in Taiwan industry or in China, India, or in Korea. There's an industry we call panel industry. People who manufacture the LCD, LED screen. So in this panel industry, there's a very important task, how to detect the defect. We call panel defect detections. It means how can we use, instead of using our own human eyes to identify the error, how can we teach camera to detect these errors? So in this case, this can be save a lot of cost in the industry, of course, and also there's a lot of process. So we need to rely on this AI modeling to help the industry to solve this task. So this is very important. So I'd like to show you in the panel defect type. You can see in the left side and the right side. In the left side, you can see there's a small white dot. So the computer is able to use a laser and the camera to screen the data, and then they can identify what is the relevant situation happening in the real panels. So you can see these laser cuttings. So this is a place that the engineer, they use this laser cutting and to identify these errors happen in the panels. So this is one case. And then another topic I like to, okay, also AIoT in quality education, usually we not only from the panel industry, but also from the agriculture. Nowadays we call it smart agricultures. The pain points from the current agriculture is the temperature and humidity control is a very important task, especially in countries like Africa, for example. And how can we estimate the numbers of, for example, tomatoes, and also the production estimate. So this would be very important that we definitely need to use technologies to sustain the qualities. So that's why for example, in cherry tomatoes, so there's a different type of tomatoes. So how can we give this data and transfer into the AI modeling? So this will be definitely the motivation to help us to go ahead more in the we call algorithm. Before you study AI modeling, there are several types of algorithms that we have to choose the right tools. It doesn't mean there's a certain formula to focus on certain algorithm, but it depends on how efficiency your production and how efficiency the engineer can generate the solution to solve the task. So there's always a debate in between the solutions and the education challenges. So here we provide system design for AIoT. In the AIoT, actually, you can see different controller. We call in the traditional way, we call fuzzy controller. So there are different ways to control, and then we send this data and generate a user interface. Then image processing data can also be one of the source of data. Taking the image from the webcam, so like our AIoT, we provide all different type of cameras, like a web camera, also the edge camera. So this camera can work together to detect, and they can compare the images. And then this is a page that in our systems, the recognition from the AI, they can generate into data, and we can use the web page to show these data. For example, the humidity and the sensing temperature, and the timing, and also the image of the productions. Today, I'd like to discuss a little bit about the new technologies, especially for the current mechanical industry. In education system, normally when we teach education, usually first subject you will face should be like a CAD/CAM. However, before CAD/CAM, for CNC processing, there's a lot of knowledge that we can use technology to embed and to help the teacher and student to be well prepared for each step before they operate the real CNC. So we use, actually we provide the run-on solutions. It's a 5-layer CNC training courses to strengthen your competitiveness during the pandemic. And this is how today I would like to discuss more how we can strengthen these competitions by using the software-based simulations. So actually in recent years, going to school really in pandemic is not so easy for most of the students to access for education resources. So it becomes really difficult due to the pandemic. So in how to break this new learning barrier become a great questions, and it's a challenging for us as a manufacturer and also solution providers. Today, we like to focus on more, like talk about how to strengthen, how to prepare these self-preparations and self-competitive to educations. So in next page, usually to continuous learning in the professionals, we have some solutions in overall. For CNC learning, to be honest, we provide 5-layer CNC training courses. This solution is for CNC learners for each level to be more efficiently work together and way up to professional. So in the education, we understand in most of school you must have CNC in your lab, in mechanical lab. But to be honest, we already observed several events like issues. For example, teachers they have some repairing issues because the student accidentally damaged the machines. So in order to solve this issue, we also provide some trainings, and we use software simulations to ask the student to be more practical and to be more experienced in the software simulation, and then they can prepare how to write a program, including the NC code, including the G code, and then send this file before they touch the real CNCs. So we believe this teaching method can be a challenging point to help the teachers to prepare well, and for the course management and also for the laboratory preparing, that would be very helpful. So in next page, for the equipment, actually, Rengan covers a wide range of CNC machines. Whether you need the milling, you need the tuning or multiple axis, or you need different brands such as Fanuc, such as Siemens, such as Head and High, or even Mitsubishi. Rengan is ready for you to choose different type of controller with different type of user interface. So for the virtual but realistic issue, how can we make the teaching environment so realistic? We have a selections of virtual machines that functions just like real machines. These functions include tool offset, including the tool gauge and rapid movement, hand wheel movement, auto run, import or export NC files, collision or over travel alarms, and so on. And with the virtual machines, students can learn from trial and error freely until they are so used, so professional to operate, they don't cause collision anymore. And this is what we call self-paced learning solution also, because I believe after teachers they train the students, there will be a lot of time we can reserve for students. They can keep on practice, and by relying on the software, and they can training and increase their confidence also. That's why we use these solutions to well establish the entire training performance. Also, in next page, we'd like to state a little bit more for the professional knowledge and the industrial experience. How we combine these two subjects together. So you can see from the web page, from the PowerPoint here. First of all, one highlight recently is our Cnc Teach Systems. We provide this system. It is so convenient for the teaching and the class management also. So you can call it as a LMS. Although we do not use LMS, we call it Teach Systems. So actually all the classes and the contents are listed clearly and ready to use. And the Rengan also provides our own design teaching materials like F-book, e-book actually, combined with our deep-rooted professional knowledge and 30 years of industrial experience. The F-book will sure make students acquire CNC knowledge efficiently and precisely. That is very important that we combine this knowledge along with the systems. So even more, the Teach system allows immediate evaluations actually for the hands-on operation. So this definitely can save a lot of time for the teachers. You don't need to go to each student and give assessment one by one. With the software, students can simultaneously participate different tasks of operations, and then teachers can also freely edit the exam content. So it means this system can be highly customized according to the user requirements. So Rengan also definitely, if grading one student take 10 minutes, for example, grading 6 students, how many effort, how much time you will spend. So we don't want that to be happened. So with the Teach system, simply click on the mouse and the Teach system opens and the virtual machine and start the test. After testing, in less than 1 second, you will get the results. The system automatically will evaluate all the criteria such as dimensions, such as alarms, such as testing time, no more wasting time and energy on grading students one by one. So for this, the importance of education remains the same, but the way of learning must be changed. We call it innovations. Imagine how much effort, how much materials of training you have in your lab, in the curriculums. So in that case, the way of learning changed, but the importance of education remains the same. Teachers teach the same theory. However, technology will also add on due to the technical improvements. So students and teachers must be coherent according to the changing of technologies. So with Rengan, practice is no longer restricted to school and workshop. Even now you can learn CNC at home, at any location you feel convenient. This will also allow multiple users, trainers, working in the same time. So no longer need to fight all resources, or they have their own equipment. This is very important in nowadays, especially in the pandemic period of time. So next page, I just show you, this is a little bit for, usually we use this for exhibitions. This is a CNC mask. Usually you can see on in the pictures, there's a desktop controller. So students, they can use this controller. It's actually, controller is the same as a CNC controller, but we use this mask, it's like a game. Students, they can practice how to control the axis. So that is the thing that we bring up this equipment together, so you can take it as a reference that how we are trying to be more innovative, and that's why it's very important. Okay. Later on, we will also show you a series of software recording videos, so you can see more and about what I have mentioned. Okay, so now let's take a look and enjoy the video that I'm presenting. You can see this is a rapid virtual machine. Actually, our CNC virtual machines has all the real functions, such as rapid movement, and also the alarm, and also the zero return, and also the auto run functions. And also now you can see it's a tuning. We have a selection of machines. This is a tuning. You can see, and then it's a milling. You can see it's operating simultaneously according to your codings. Even the 5-axis is also being supported. And most important things, you can also switch to different view angles for examinations. That is one of our innovation, that to help the student to see more details about your processings. And this is our Cnc Teach System with all the course listed and teach materials. An instant quiz, each chapter. The ebook also has well organized chapters. We call it F-book, and for students of each level. And you can start a test and take online test and go to the test question list and just press online testing for or start a test. And the student need to set all the conditions and offset for correct cuttings. And all the alarm will be recorded and evaluated. After all the settings, start auto run to cut the workpiece. Okay, now the software is operating. After cutting, just press the end the test, and the Teach System will automatically evaluate in just 1 second. So, go to the score list, and then receive the immediately evaluation results. So, from this video, we simply observe that the entire processing that you will have if you consider, and then we welcome the future cooperation again soon with all the customers. So to give a little bit summarize for today's quality education discuss, how can we define the quality? Actually, the answers, it depends on the human. Because we, human beings, as we involve in education and also industry, it is very important to make sure the quality control of all the process. So in this process, lots of data is there. It depends on how we utilize this data and become our weapon to make the quality happen. So in nowadays, big data has been highly emphasized, and what type of language, what kind of language we can use for big data training, it is become a challenging in the education also. So today we know there's a lots of risk or challenges because in the education. First of all, how can we get a clean data? This clean data is not only for industry but also for education. How can we help the teacher to generate the clean data and focus on the training of the big data and algorithm? So we teach them also the modeling, and also we have several use cases and relevant algorithm. So when we discuss about data science, and we have to discuss results, we have to choose and make identify. In data science technology, there's a different type of categories. We have big data, also data science, and also data analysis. Different type of range. They focus different subjects. For example, for data science, is a field that a comparison of everything related to data cleaning, and also preparation and analysis. For the big data engineer, they focus more on the how can we efficiently calculate and summarize the data insights from the complex of data. And for the data analysis, it's the engineer who involved more on the automating the insight into a certain data sheets. So different engineers have different type of jobs to do. So we understanding in the relevant research, and there's big data is still the #1 job hot market in the industry. So people who choose big data as an engineer career, definitely they will have a very bright futures. So we understand that this will be definitely a target in the industry. So in the education, we also link up several tasks, several academic curriculums. To be honest, so far we do not see a fixed curriculum for big data. However, mostly are the demand from industry. So we believe that this will be more sustainable, and they can make a coherent conversations and communications in between the academy and industry. So this will be a very important challenges also for the nowadays educations. So we talk about what kind of language we use for big data. Actually, we understanding Python is the most popular in nowadays, especially in different field of engineering. So in the Python language, there's a growing market also. So that's why we choose Python, and so it is more easy for engineer student to practice, and especially in the big data market. Okay, so let's take a look what kind of preparation before we launch the education for big data in the curriculum base. So usually we have to think about how can we dig into the numbers of data. So immediately you will see we need a server. We go data cluster, for example. So we have to provide a rack frame, a cabinet base. So because this kind of cluster is not calculating millions of data, we talk about billions of data. So definitely we have to choose more suitable hardware to cope with the systems. So we talk about also the system monitor and also the data server. So in this system, we immediately, in the most popular big data operation, we are using Hadoop. So Hadoop is more on the Linux base. So this is a system that we perform all the training in the big data. So actually in the comprehensive courses to strengthen the territory of education, first of all, we focus more on the data servers. So we provide 20 more cases studies with the tailor-made Python code. So actually teachers and the students, they can immediately have a physical user cases when they perform the training of big data. And also this big data is also work we call real-time projects. And this data can immediately work with IoT, AIoT, and smart agriculture. You can see this is a big data not only for training, but also you can use as a tool, as a data center, to help users to create a very efficient environment, to perform the data cleaning, to perform the AI modeling, and to observe the results after you choose the algorithms. So including the IoT gateway, including the IoT sensors, all are able to support and link together with our big data systems. So usually in the job market, the desired skills, as I have mentioned, these all demands are there in the market. But how can we give a student an education in terms of qualities, in terms of modern technologies? These students in the future, they can be a data engineer, they can be an architect, or they can be the data analysis. So it's all from the industry demand. So we have to think about the quality also. So this will be challenges in nowadays. So in order to solve the issues, later on I would like to give a more physical case on the algorithm. Before we guide you for the algorithm, we talk about we call net bias classifier. So this is using iris data set. And before we go into this subject, I would like to guide you how is our big data system work. That is the hardware based. So let's take a look in the video later. Okay, so now let's take a look of our big data system. What is the big data really look like? First of all, you can see this is a cabinet system, including the monitor, including the lab experiment system, including the data NAS, including the different clusters of systems. So this is the system is focused more on the industrial demand. However, we transform this and design to be more on education purpose. How can we do that? First of all, open the cabinet, and then this is the place where you can key in your data. You can do the experiment, you can put your input here. So let's take a look. In the system, first of all, this is an unbodied system where you can see the metrics of data performance, including the CPU, memory, including the network usage, and also the different type of storage parameters. So in the embodied big data, in details, you can see different type of system. Hadoop HDFS system, Yarn, Zoomkeeper, all the necessary tools are provided in the all-in-one big data systems. So not only that, you can see the more on the user interface. You can see different performance of your data. And you can imagine in this data, you can link your IoT, your AIoT, your smart agriculture, all are able to input in this system. So this system is so powerful, but we have to choose the quality way of education to give step-by-step education. For example, in the sibling systems, we use this sibling to train the student to perform the Python practice, and then how to run the algorithms and generate the data. So let's take a look. First of all, here I already installed the experiment code. This one we choose Gaussian net bias. So this is a net bias classifier. Usually we use this for the iris data set. So in this experiment, teachers is very simply, they can just click the perform and press OK. So immediately, very fast, because this data is so strong, they run 2 million data sets in the one, only take about 0.7 seconds. Then they can get this data. You can see all the scattered pilots are being generated, and the results. They can isolate different categories of iris from the big data. So this is a result that we can easily compare. And we choose different net bias to choose what is the best way for the algorithm. There's no no fixed rule that you can only definitely choose one algorithm. We have to compare. So we compare by different net-bias models. So it means it's coherent. So that's proof that experiment is successful. Okay, so let's come back before we end these presentations. Let's give a little bit summarize. So you just see what I present in the big data system. So let me show you several experiment pages for running the Ignite bias classifier by using iris datasets. So where you can see in the iris dataset, actually by nature, as I have mentioned earlier, before you want to run the AI, you need to understand the environment, you need to understand the communications. So that's why we talk to the farmers, what is the problem they face, and what is the characteristic of the iris. So we understand there are different type of iris, like as I show in the PowerPoint. And then we understanding the characteristic of different data. So by isolating these details, we need to generate, we need to find the relevant algorithm to clean this data. So first of all, we have to read the data set, then draw a scatter of simple lengths, then implement the algorithm. So here we choose two kind of algorithm. One is NumPy, another is left bias, and then we can compare the percentage in these two methods. So all are line by line, stage by stage. So the AI modeling flowchart is like this. We give the input, and then we will classify by different algorithms, NumPy and left bias. And then the iris type, we run 3 types of iris, and we can comprehensive get the data to the output. And accuracy is 75%. So when you come back to the education, normally we are not the number one. We are humbling just try to find solutions for industry and educations as a very important as a manufacturer and also as a consultants in educations. Currently, IoT has a potential to reshape applications through collaboration between engineering and the domain expert knowledges in hope to improve our life. So definitely, how can we prepare environment more on the AI or more on the Internet of Things? This will be a challenge, and nowadays we have to prepare for the students also. So devising the simple but useful devices for IoT related, it is also a topic in the industry also. So not only for healthcare, but also agriculture and aquaculture even. These are become a very hot topic, and we are still working on the innovation and development. So hope you enjoy today's subject, and any questions, please feel free to contact me. Thank you so much. So after today's presentation, I believe there's a lot more we can prepare for education. Although we are not the number one and the best in the world, but humbly we are still preparing and keep on working with industry and trying to keep the updated information to the education to the customers. So actually, in nowadays, to sustain the quality is not only from education side, but also from industry. So industry is actually preparing to work with the new graduations, engineers, of course. So before they talk about a cooperation in between the new employee and the industry, we have to prepare environment in what we call quality education environment in the schools. So to be honest, from our observation, we are seeing a lot of improvements, and also engineering is there, but how can we work more on the AI? That is a new challenge also. So we can say, for example, IoT has a potential to reshape the applications through the collaboration between engineer and the domain expert knowledge. So it's also help our life, to be honest. So devising the simple but useful devices for IoT is also a challenge in industries, also in healthcare, agriculture, and also aquaculture, also for the machine industries. So this is a very important subject that we have to keep on moving, and then there's a non-stop improving for education. So before we end this conversation, we are very we expect more that you can give us a feedback, and please feel free to contact me. So if there's any question, please just let us know, so we hope that we can discuss more. Thank you so much.